Hello and thanks for joining us on this, the Sportsman Untitled podcast live stream here on YouTube. We'll be going live very shortly, so get your popcorn, get your headphones on and tune in for one of the best live episodes of talking about sport you will have ever heard. And if you're lucky, we might do this again sometime. So as I said, sit back, relax, grab some popcorn and we'll be with you in about 30 seconds. Now, before we begin, it would be remiss of me not to ask you to like, subscribe, share with your friends, family, the dog, the cat, whoever. And also, if you fancy, we are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your audio podcasts. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Hello, guys, and welcome to the Sportsman Untitled, a late night special. I'm delighted to be joined by Gab Sutton, as always, Benjamin Bloom, and I don't know, a very smug looking Ollie man, because we're talking after Bristol City 0, Sheffield United 3 at Ashton Gate. My word. Ollie, I think we just hand over to you to take it from here, really, mate. That was a shock of a first leg. I think we were all predicting a bit of a draw, but You've booked your place at Wembley, let's be honest.
It's half time. We all, let's preface everything. It's half time, but I'm feeling smug, and certainly I'm starting to think about, what do I need to do in terms of travel? What do we need to make sure we've got sorted over the next couple of weeks? Obviously, I thought a fantastic performance tonight from United. I was expecting a really dour game. I thought it was going to be dull, boring. If anything, I kind of thought that Bristol City had really come out. I thought they got a really strong home record. Thought they might edge a tight game today. I was really nervous coming in, really sort of trying to make myself emotionally ready to understand. It's 1-0, it's be all right, we'll be fine. But yeah, what a performance. I thought even before the red card, I thought United were just really clearly the better team on the night. I thought we could have been 1-2 up by that point. Obviously, disallowed goal, good chances for Moore, for Campbell. Yeah, just arguably our best performance of the season. Really outstanding tonight. We've really put the game to the sword, and barring anything bizarre, Wembley again.
That's it, isn't it? I mean, Ben, what did you make of it on the whole? I mean, we'll come to the big talking point with the referee in a minute, but what do you make of the game as a whole?
Yeah, I agree with Ollie that it was going in Blade's favour. I mean, the disallowed goal was so tight either way, but then fortunately for the likes of us doing a watch along, we had a more controversial or a bigger talking point, let's just say, than that. But I was saying if the Blades had gone in 1-0 at half-time with 11 versus 11, you would have said on the balance of play, that would have probably been a fair kind of reflection, especially with the Campbell missing the 1v1 as well. And then in the second half, I thought it took them 10-15 to cope with the fact that they were just massive favourites. And then you've got to give Wilder credit, because people were saying, oh, I don't get that substitution. Then Andre Brooks comes on and pretty much scores. And by the way, I didn't catch the O'Hare goal. I thought it just kind of deflected in off him. But what a brilliant bit of skill. And I was sat there, Simon, going, right, Bristol City have just got to keep this at 1-0. Then I'm going, right, they've just got to keep it at 2-0. And you end the night going, well, it's done. Teams that finish sixth very, very rarely even get to the final. And we haven't had a winner from sixth since Blackpool in 2010, let alone one coming back. We were searching for the last 2-goal deficit at half-time in a playoff game. I think 2020 Cardiff Fulham the chat came up with. But a 3-goal deficit in the Championship competition, it would be an unprecedented collapse if Sheffield United are not at Wembley on the 24th.
Especially if you consider the points gap we talked about kind of previewing these playoffs, the difference that Sheffield United had over the rest of the teams played out that way on paper. Gab, I'm coming to you on the red card and penalty decision, because kind of split opinion online. I thought it was the right decision. I don't know what you think.
I'm not sure it's split decision. I think it's quite a common view that it was the correct penalty decision. Yes, Rob Dickie was trying to play the ball, but I think if you get the man in the box and you're the last man, it's a red card and it's a penalty. So I think correct decision for me.
Yeah, Ollie, I'll try and offer some balance here because I know Bristol City fans. I think Bristol City fans and neutrals would have rather he stayed on the pitch. From your point of view, bet you were very glad to see. I think it's Ollie Langford, the referee, whip the red card out very early on. Really,
Yeah, I was out. I was at my share. Me wife had to go upstairs. She was like, I can't watch you. You're going through so much turmoil." All. I was out the chair. I was screaming for a red card. My neighbours will be delighted to have been anywhere near me today. But yeah, to be honest, it was one of those where I think you're right. You know, you can count it a little bit unlucky, but I think it is the right decision. It's two hands in his back, pulling him back before he gets the leg around to go for the ball. So he's already fouled him, then tries to play the ball. So you can see where the decisions come. Obviously, I was trying to make myself angry about the offside decision, but I think after the replays, I was like, oh, they've got that right, and I can't be annoyed about it, but I want to be, because it feels like I should be. And I think they got both big decisions right, the ref, and I think they do deserve a lot of credit for that, because I do think I'd be the first person to complain if they got it wrong. But yeah, I did think it was the right decision, even trying to take my United hat off and be as reasonably unbiased as I can.
it's nice to give a bit of credit to the refs, given how much stick they get, and another big game, another big pressure environment. No VAR to bail them out either in the semi-final. So it's good that they got both big decisions right. Ben, for me, it was very un-Rob Dickey like. We've praised him a lot this season. He's been a rock solid defender at the heart of that Bristol City defence, and he just panicked slightly. I don't really know what was going through his mind, because on reflection, you just let him shoot.
Well, you say it was Rob Dickey like, but remember in the league game we had a red card followed by a goal by Harrison Burrows not long
That's
after.
very true.
But I totally agree with Ollie. I think a lot of people were getting confused with the double jeopardy thing, which if he hadn't put two arms around Kiefer Moore, he probably would have been booked if it was then indeed a foul with his legs. But the law is very, very clear that for double jeopardy to apply and for it to be a yellow card, it has to be a genuine attempt to get the ball. You can't rugby tackle. You can't win the ball with your arms. So as much as people are saying referee Langford ruined the game, I dare say Rob Dickey ruined the game. And we had a lot of that, trust your goalkeeper. And we've literally just seen Tyrese Campbell, a championship striker, go through and miss a 1v1. So, yeah, it's annoying, but referee Langford is not doing his job there if that's not a dog so and a red card, I'm afraid. And it ruins the tie and it swings it massively, but them's are the breaks, man.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you there, Ben. Bristol City did have moments, Gab. I mean, that cracking strike against the bar, the closest they came in that first half. Obviously, once they went down to 10 men, it was kind of a different game entirely. Do you think Manning could have done anything different, really?
I think the red card and Joe Williams' injury very early on made it very difficult for Bristol City. I think Williams was the one who was a bit of an injury risk because he was forced off after the final day against Preston North End, and I think they sort of hoped that he would be able to play because he is that kind of energetic influence, really tenacious player that could have made a difference in this type of game. But ultimately they had to shuffle things around, and obviously the red card on top of that made things really difficult. But I think when it was 11v11, because that's the bit that is probably fairer to analyse, they really struggled to get people involved with Nahki Wells and sort of get into the final third with any sort of consistency. And I think that's an area where either they maybe struggled to accelerate the ball into those areas once they had some decent territory in the opposing half, but also is Nahki Wells the kind of sticking point that you need, a sort of focal point? He's a brilliant finisher, and you look at some of his finishes and he produces a real sort of finesse when he does get in front of goal. But is he that kind of player who makes everyone around him better and kind of acts as that, the sticking point that brings it, the likes of Max Bird and Anis Mehmeti into the game? I'm not sure he does that. So that might be an area for Bristol City to rethink in the summer as they head towards the likelihood of another season in the Championship.
Simon, can
Absolutely.
I just come
Ollie,
in on
were
that?
you expecting... Sorry, Ben, go on, mate.
Yeah, Gab's totally right. 70% possession Bristol City had in the first half, and Sheffield United had all the clear chances. So I totally agree that it wasn't joining up in terms of that possession being tangible. Sorry, go ahead, Simon.
No, it's all right, mate. Good contribution. Ollie, were you expecting more from Bristol City tonight? I just feel a bit disappointed from a neutral point of view that the underdogs didn't give it a bit more, and the runaway leaders ran away with a 3-0 lead.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed with them, to be honest, the way it came out. First of all, I've got friends who are Bristol City fans, and I know they'll be feeling absolutely rotten tonight. And I think that, it's really important that for their season, they focus on Saturday. And that moment of, the pitch invasion, the celebrations, that really amazing feeling that they'd got somewhere this season, that progress. So I really don't want that to get lost in what comes out of my mouth next, which is that I thought they were really poor tonight. I think they got it wrong. I think they came to Bramall Lane only, a couple of months ago now, and they were fantastic that night. They used Sinclair Armstrong as their starting centre forward, and he stretched our defence all day long. He got the defenders pushed back towards their own goal, so they were constantly on the move. They were never able to settle. His physicality caused us problems. His speeding behind really dragged us into places we didn't want to be. They then dominated that midfield battle. Now, Vinny Souza wasn't around that night, and that does make a huge difference to our chances, but they were really strong through the centre of midfield that day. They dominated us. What I saw Wilder do tonight was change our formation so that we could counter that. We went so direct in that first half, 35% possession, I think we were talking about there, but so much of that was centre after Kiefer Moore. And so you could really see that United had recognised where their strength came, particularly with Williams on the pitch. Lovely footballer, really had a huge impact on the game at Bramall Lane. So we obviously countered that. We really tried to be different, tried something else when we were up against them. It's worked an absolute treat. I did just want to go back to the penalty decision, though, because the one thing I didn't have on my bingo card tonight was a long ball up front to Tyrese Campbell flick on to Kiefer Moore sprinting through on goal. I'm not quite sure that's how we saw our tactics working, but yeah, it's hard to say, but the changes we made tonight really felt like it countered everything they'd done so well at Bramall Lane a few games ago.
Ben, were you a bit surprised by the 4-4-2 direct to Kiefer Moore up top by Wilder? It worked, didn't it?
No, I'm not sure I was. We've seen Sheffield United use that shape towards the end of the season, and I remember doing a watch along. Might have been in the possibly the fabled Plymouth game where automatic was essentially thrown away. So maybe it's not the greatest example to use, but we'd seen the kind of two up front, and I think Ollie will speak better on this than me, but I think sometimes because he's got these flamboyant players like O'Hare and Harmer who are brilliant players but can't necessarily be trusted in the 4-2-3-1. They might need a little bit more cover in terms of their defensive work. So no, I wasn't massively surprised, and we kind of, once it gets to last 10 games, we kind of know who the big teams or who the big teams are gonna select as their first 11. I just wanted to add in one thing, Simon, that is getting kind of lost. That was a high pressure penalty kick. If he misses that penalty in stoppage time, the whole stadium goes crazy and it looks very, very different. And I dare say it will not be the last penalty we see over the next couple of weeks in these playoffs. It might not even be the last one Harrison Burrows has to take in the next 3 games. So that was a really, really big moment. And this is a player that's come up. Gab will talk better than me about it. It's come up from Peterborough, really stepped up this season, got in the team of the season. He's now a leader in a team that's 90 plus points, as Chris Wilder keeps repeating. And, I think that gets lost while everybody's debating red card, yellow card, dog so, whatever. Real good high pressure penalty, that.
Yeah, it felt like the penalty, he just took it so quickly. I know that there were so many replays we were all watching and discussing whether it was a penalty. If we just thought it was a red card, Kiefer Moore was shown running through about 20 times. All of a sudden, Burrows was kicking the ball and didn't even have time to think about it. It was in the net. Talk to us a bit, Gab, about his kind of progression and step up this season. First season in the Championship, of course.
Well, he actually had a season with Peterborough in the 21-22 campaign.
That's why he's on this.
But he's one who I think at Peterborough they struggled to work out his position because some argue he was the number 10. He could play on the wing, he could play as a wing back, could play as a left back. And actually in the last couple of seasons he's sort of cemented himself as a technical attacking left back. Had a fantastic season in League One with the Posh last season where he scored a couple of really high-profile goals at Wembley in the EFL Trophy final, and then he's made that step up with Sheffield United brilliantly. So I think he's a really talented technical player who's, I think Ollie can maybe speak to this a little bit better. He's kind of evolving his game and becoming going from being a sublime technician to actually a really complete left back.
Yeah, the way he's developed through this season, you've seen a real sort of growth from Harrison Burrows, the way that the season's come forward. I thought when he first came in, it was a little bit of a vulnerability in there, using him just as a pure left back. He was obviously so used to that wing back system. You'd see him starting to get forward, trying to get down the wing, but you could be exposed in behind him.
Getting no help from Gus Harmer in front of him, to be fair.
Getting absolutely no help from Gus Harmer in front of him. This is very true. But I think through the season, they've almost adapted that role so well. You know, we've really seen how United have grown in confidence in trying to build that shape. And Burrows himself, his defensive confidence has got so much better. And that's one thing that, you know, we know how dangerous Bristol City were. They played so attacking with their wing-backs tonight, getting Yu Hirakawa coming down that wing, constantly trying to ask questions, and they just got no joy out of it. And I think that's as much a testament to the growth of Burrows as a player as anything else we'll see as evidence tonight, because the penalty, high-pressure moment, all relying on him, he's took it beautifully. But the fact he stood up to any pressure coming down that wing, making sure there was nothing easy, making sure that you couldn't get past, despite the fact that they were trying to get him on the ball, trying to create in that way, I think that was a real testament to his growth from where he was maybe 12 months ago.
Ollie, do you think we should also be giving some credit to Vinicius Souza and Sidney Peck for their defensive work in midfield?
Oh, give Vinny Souza all the credit for everything. And Souza, not Souza. I'm not sure where that was coming from, but Vinny Souza, and I thought he had a really good game. I think he makes such a difference to this United team, because what he does more than anybody else is he gives us energy that if anybody else isn't able to get in to really try and sort of... If Burrows does want to go forward, Souza is always going to be able to cover that space in behind. He's always going to make sure that everybody's got that backup option. I think the way that he is so much more physical in midfield probably is one of the key differences between the game at Bramall Lane and what we've seen tonight. Because rather than allowing their midfield to press forward, to get on the back of maybe Wells trying to get forward and get runners in behind him, Souza just marshals that space like an expert. I think he's probably our most important player, and his injury that took him out from sort of early December really did rock us. We went through a long period of not being able to get him fit, not being able to get him playing week in, week out. So him being back and actually looking like he's back 100% and to his best, that gives me confidence, is what I'm going to say, without jinxing anything and while touching all the wood in the room. That gives me some confidence.
If you can't get carried away after a 3-0 away win in the first leg of a playoff semi-final, Ollie, when can you? You really need to go for it. Keep your questions coming in, by the way, guys, for the panel. Seeing all the comments come in. I'm actually going to chuck one up on the screen for you all to answer now. Gab, let's come to you first, because Rich has asked, is there anything Liam Manning can do for the second leg, or is it really game over after tonight?
Oh gosh, what a great question. I think for overturning that kind of deficit, you need the momentum of a home crowd to create that sort of intimidating atmosphere. I think going to Bramall Lane and pulling back a 3-goal deficit when you've been 24 points worse than Sheffield United over the course of the season, because I'm counting the 2 points, the extra 2 points. But I think, I think it's just going to be very difficult. I mean, they're gonna have to try and get forwards like Sinclair Armstrong on the pitch, who've got that strength and ability to take people on. And I would probably see if they can risk Campering in the left wing back just to give them a bit more natural width. So I think that's one thing. But truthfully, I think it's going to be a huge ask.
Yeah, Ben, agree with that? Anything Manning can do at all, or is it? It feels game over, doesn't it, at this stage?
Yeah, what can he do? I mean, I know people are going to raise this League One Sheffield Wednesday.
We don't talk about it, Ben.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it.
But Gab's totally right. Sheffield Wednesday were the team that finished third with 96 points or whatever it was, not the team that finished sixth way back, and you know, that rousing kind of home crowd. I don't know what you're supposed to do. I mean, I assume the biggest home loss was against Hull, wasn't it? And let's be honest, in that game for Sheffield United, Chris Wilder just went for it at 1-0 down, and he's just not going to do that. So we're now in a situation where they can just draw the game, and it's, I will eat my hat. I will, do whatever forfeit you want. I will be astonished if Sheffield United aren't walking out of Wembley on the 24th. Absolutely astonished.
Will we get you to wear a Norwich City shirt?
Fine. Yeah, fine.
Ollie, can I even say the word complacency? Is that a worry at all?
Obviously, I mean, you've got to consider those kind of things. That's what's going to be playing on United's mind now, is what do we do going into Monday? Because, how are we going to approach that game? Are the players going to be distracted by Wembley and thinking that this is job done? That's the only thing that, from our perspective, we've got to make sure to control. Those players have to understand, job isn't complete yet. You've done an amazing night and an incredible night, but you've still got to finish that job. Against Hull, there were lots of mitigating circumstances, but we did lose at Bramall Lane 3-0 that night. It happens. It has happened to us this season. We need to make sure it doesn't happen again. And so, yeah, I think the only thing really, and I mean this with all due respect to Bristol City, I think the only thing that's going to beat United at this stage is United. I don't
Red
think
card
Bristol
after
City.
10 minutes or something.
Yeah, we'd have to do something
crazy,
really stupid. Yeah. And, yeah, we've got to hope that we're not going to do that, obviously. We've got to keep our heads on, keep switched on, get through that sort of first 20 minutes, and then the game's in the palm of our hands at Bramall Lane. Got to back yourselves in this situation. I joke a lot. I'm a relatively pessimistic man, but even I think that maybe I'll have to switch team if United don't do this one. If we can't win this one, then Jesus, what are we going to do?
Simon, sorry. The Leeds collapse against Derby is the only thing remotely close, but there wasn't 3 days in between, or 4 days or whatever it is, in between to stew on the 3-goal lead. And that was something that was just incredible to watch, where the whole kind of stadium and the whole club all collapsed in on itself just as soon as it was Cooper and Kiko Casilla made that mistake. And then you just feel this is very different, where you blow the whistle at 3-0 and then reset. And yeah, these are good players. These are players that have been in the Premier League as well. And with the greatest respect to the Sheffield Wednesday and Peterborough players, that was a League One playoff collapse, not a. It's just unprecedented if it were to happen.
Ollie, can I ask you a
questions come in from Paul? A bit of an interesting one to bring up after a 3-0 win for Sheffield United here, but for the points differential, is there a case to shake up the playoffs format to give a greater advantage to the team that finished third, similar to the conference or the rugby playoffs? I mean, the advantage is they get to play the home leg second. The advantage is clear on the pitch. I think another interesting point to bring up is that I saw a comment that said in Serie B, if you finish 14 points, if the team in third finished 14 points or more above the team in fourth, there are no playoffs and they go straight up. Is that a discussion point for us? I mean, we love the playoffs, don't we? Ollie's nodding his head, but Simon. He's biased. Gab, we love the playoffs. We don't want to see it change, do we?
No, I think keep it as it is. I do like the National League eliminator system, where basically what happens is second and third are automatically in a one-leg semi-final to play for the final, obviously, and then there's a semi-final. Let me get this right. It's an eliminator kind of quarter-final, if you like, between fourth and seventh, and fifth and sixth, obviously, to play to get into that semi-final. Again, one leg. And I do think that adds a certain drama to the playoffs, in the sense that you know that any individual one game is going to have immediate consequences for either team, which is obviously different to the system we have in the Football League. So I do see an argument for that, but I'm completely resistant to any sort of change in football. So I'm going to say no.
But so, Simon, the stats say third place don't need any more help. The last team to even get to the final was Derby in 2019, and we've had 14 Championship playoffs in a row without sixth place winning. So, and to go on to a completely different soapbox, it's virtually the only chance you've got with the chasms in TV finances at the moment to actually be anywhere near them. So don't change it. It's a beautiful competition.
You've got to give the mid-table team some hope going into the last part of the season. Let me dream for a little bit longer anyway. I've got 24 hours yet. So, Gab, did you have a point you wanted to bring up to Ollie?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Ollie, actually, if Sheffield United do play Coventry or Sunderland, we're not taking it for granted just yet, of course, but if you were to play at Wembley, what has tonight done for your thinking in terms of the 11? Somebody like Ryan Brewster, would he start on the right wing, or what would your 11 be? Would it be an unchanged?
Yeah, I mean, there's a very strong argument that it'd be unchanged. Looking at the team, looking at the performance that we've put in here tonight, I think we've over the last few weeks, over the last few couple of months, really, we've seen a lot of sort of stuttering from United. We've seen disjointed performances. We've seen the odd one that's really stood out. Coventry at Bramall Lane, for example, were outstanding that night. But then we followed that up with really disappointing performances. Same 11 against Plymouth, against Millwall. So really, we've been trying to shake it up. We tried 2 or 3 different things towards the end of the season. As Ben said, we played the sort of 4-4-2 a couple of times, sort of better performance at Burnley and then the win against Stoke. So, yeah, to be honest, I'd say that right now, as a result of what we've seen tonight, that's probably the first team. I think that was arguably one of Rhian Brewster's best performances in the United shirt. Thought first half he was really dynamic, creating those chances, really starting to link the play better for United. I think the way that they attacked as a 4, rather than it just being an isolated 2, you really saw Harmer and Brewster push high, which made a big difference to try and get us on the ball, get us on the front foot. It was as attacking as we've been all season. So I would be tempted to say that's how we need to go for it, and we need to attack these teams, because what I saw today was a confidence from United going forwards that I've not seen for a while, and that does excite me.
Very good, weren't they? Very good. Ben, how much we saw? I mean, I saw those United subs come on the bench, off the bench today, late on. And I just think that squad depth is unparalleled in the rest of the playoffs. How important is that going to be if Sheffield United are going to win the playoffs?
I think you might be playing possum a bit there as a Coventry fan. I think 11 versus 11, Coventry first 11's decent, isn't it? I agree with you on the benches. I think Wilder deserves some credit because that was a very active substitution, and Sidney Peck had just been yellow carded, and it's a hostile environment where if there's been a red card in the first half, the home fans are going to be. Sidney Peck does one more tackle, he just got him straight out of the game and brought Tom Davies in, and then obviously Brooks and O'Hare both scored as well. Simon, Wembley is funny, fair enough if you're Harry Kane or Jude Bellingham, playing at Wembley is, it's just another day, isn't it? But EFL players sometimes react very strangely to Wembley. I remember seeing the Plymouth team that scored 101 points completely get eaten alive by Wembley and lose 4-0 or something, 4-0 or 4-1. Do you remember, Gab, the Pizza
Bolton
Cup?
Wanderers, was it?
Yeah, Pizza Cup final that year. And then there is also the matter of, say it's Coventry and the propensity to score headed goals, whether you even go 3 at the back, depending on who you're playing against in that regard, with the Van Eyck long throws and Bobby Thomas and Jack Redoni, etc. So not that Chris Wilder would be wanting to select based on an opponent, but it's tournament football, man. It's the tiniest of things that can win you the games, and they often have under 1.5 goals and go to extra time, these finals. So it can be the slightest little thing.
Yeah, the next question I've got down is, go on, Ollie. We didn't
I
jump
was
in
just
there,
going to
mate.
say, that's what we said on the sort of preview show, isn't it? When we were coming together, a lot of the most common predictions were that it'd be Coventry against United in the final, and my immediate response was their set pieces are going to kill us. Like, we've got to think about how we get more height in to look against Bobby Thomas. Over the season as a whole, I thought United set pieces tonight were outstanding, the way that we used Kiefer Moore. Obviously, we got the goal off the corner, we had the disallowed goal off a long throw, so really did seem to be improved plans, improved tactics, improved height in defending and attacking those tonight, and so that does give me a lot of confidence. I think it's one of the reasons why Moore almost has to start. You saw his impact, but you see his impact in terms of the set piece, both defending and attacking, that makes a huge difference. So yeah, it's certainly something to keep an eye on if we are playing Coventry, because if you look at the stats over the season, is a huge mismatch in favour of. That's easy for you to say, in favour of Cov.
Yeah, getting too far ahead of ourselves, guys. There's another semi-final to be played. We haven't even kicked a ball yet, so let's all calm down. My next question was, what will Coventry...
Simon, really quickly, sorry. So I'm so sorry, Simon. Really quickly, you did say about squad depth, and if you assume the final lasts 120 minutes, not 90, then yes, to your point about Sheffield United squad depth, then yeah, Kiefer Moore ain't playing 120 minutes, but if you've got, Tyrese Campbell and... Rhian Brewster there as possibly another striker, Tom Cannon, etc., then yeah, that could make a big difference on final day, assuming that Sheffield United will be at Wembley. Sorry, Simon.
Really good point. Yeah. The question was, what will Coventry and Sunderland fans make of the result tonight? And I think we can all agree that we were all wanting Bristol City to do a job on Sheffield United, given the points difference. So that's been put to bed early. So what instead, I'll ask Ollie, is who are you going to be wanting to win the other semi-final?
It's a really horrible question. Can Bristol City win the other semi-final? Is that all right? No, it's a really horrible question because there's obviously, there's the Sunderlands that we saw from September to December. I don't want to play them. I really don't want to play them. The Sunderland that we saw from February to May, I'll see them at Wembley. Don't worry about it, lads. We'll take you there. And again, similarly for Coventry, the September to December Cov, yeah, all right, we'll give you a go. December to May, we don't really want to play them. So it's a really interesting game, I think. I'm really interested to see how Sunderland come out tomorrow because that's going to really be the driving force. Have they got that switch where they've not had anything to play for so long? They've sort of thrown it in a little bit, not been putting in the performances. Can they flick a switch, turn up tomorrow night and be the team that we know they can? Or are they going to continue trying to glide their way through the playoffs, not able to get themselves back up to full intensity, to full performance level, to full confidence? So if you ask me right now, based on what we've seen the last 3 months, I'd much rather play Sunderland. But the other side of that is I also have to factor in the 912,000 fans that'll be storming at me on Wembley Way, screaming, "How are the lads?" So, we've got to think about all these different impacts that can happen at Wembley.
I don't want to throw it forward too far, Gab, but if Sunderland beat Coventry, it means they've ended that really poor run of results one way or another, and it means they've got the confidence back, and it means their players are flying. If Coventry beat Sunderland, it means they've carried this kind of momentum into the playoffs and won another semi-final. So I don't think there's a particularly good opponent for Sheffield United here. I certainly think it'll probably be a step up on Bristol City.
Yes, I agree. I think that for me, I think Sunderland would carry the bigger threat in the final personally, because I think while Coventry have some great players in certain areas, like the midfield of Jack Rodoni, who's been amazing this season, of Ben Sheaf, and Matt Grimes, of course, as well as Haji Wright, who scored the goals after injury to the start of the season, and Milan van Ewijk at right back as well. I also think that there's probably 3 or 4 areas that Coventry 11 that you would say is a little bit more in question. Whereas I look at Sunderland, and while the question that Ollie quite rightly pointed out, which is, can they turn the flip? Can they turn it on again after losing 5 from the spin and starting the season with ending the season with no real kind of purpose in terms of knowing that they'll be in the playoffs? I do think that at their best, they're probably a bit stronger than Coventry, who, let's remember, have collected 27 of their points in a 10-game sort of sample quite early on in Frank Lampard's reign. So for me, I would say Sunderland carry the bigger threat, even though they're a little bit out of form.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, would you go along with that?
Yeah, Gab makes a lot of good points there. And I've done several watch-alongs of Sunderland. I remember a game earlier in the season against Middlesbrough where they played it quite beautifully, actually. They had the 4-4-2 shape that Sheffield United used today. Really compact, really narrow. Let Middlesbrough pass around in front of them, scored a goal, kept the clean sheet, won the game. And remember the away game against Burnley? They should have won at Burnley. They failed to score 2 penalties as well. So I think Gab's got a point there in terms of a one-off game. The problem is you've got to play Coventry at the CBS where they've been really good. And, Gab talks about the concentration of points. I'd also talk about the late goals as well. And would you be surprised if Coventry, put the tie out of sight in the last 5 minutes to say they were 1-up and, got themselves another late goal at the end of the tie tomorrow night? So, yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as Gab, as Lampard probably being my favourite in terms of a league dugout manager process. Maybe in tournament football, Lebris, but we don't know what the hell's going to turn up. Is it going to be like Huddersfield under David Wagner, where they kind of went dark for 5 games and then won the playoffs and didn't concede a single goal, barely, did they? So who the hell knows? Enzo Lefebvre back might be something though, because he was looking incredible before the injury. But I'm sure we're going to get onto all of this tomorrow, Simon, aren't we?
Absolutely. Do tune in after the Coventry Sunderland semi-final tomorrow night. By the way, Gab and Ben will certainly be online to discuss it. I'm going to the game, so probably won't be online, but I might send a video over. Ollie, one thing I wanted to point out to you at this point is that Betfred have updated their promotion odds for the playoffs from the Sky Bet Championship. Sheffield United now 4-6 to get promoted. Coventry 3-1, Sunderland 3-1, nothing to split them, and Bristol City 66-1 for promotion on Betfred. So I mean, the odds are forever in your favour, Ollie.
Yeah, that if I remember correctly, that quote normally ends with 11 people getting murdered. So I'm really hopeful that that's not quite how things are going to come. That's a Hunger Games joke for anybody paying attention at home. Yeah, it's obviously tonight makes a huge step. I think obviously the odds will reflect that effectively they're seeing this semi-final as being done, and therefore as the only team that the bookies are willing to suggest.
He was going to say in the final, then, wasn't he?
I don't know what you mean, Ben, but as the only team who may be playing at Wembley, they've obviously going to be boosting the odds there to try and get with United on that and to not give people the opportunity to take advantage of the value that could be available. We've got a great chance. Look, it's been 9 times that we've gone through this playoff malarkey. It's been 9 times it's failed. Myself, in my lifetime, Wembley or an equivalent, I've been 6 times. I've seen us lose 13-3 on aggregate. I've only ever seen us score in 1 game. I've seen us lose 6 out of 6. You know, there's a lot of trauma for us to break through, but it does somehow, maybe, just a little bit feel different after tonight. We've never quite gone like this. We've never had a night like this in the playoffs. Obviously, a manager like Wilder, a connection to the club like the squad have got, like the manager's got, like the team have just seemed to build at the moment, and yeah, let's hope that Betfred know what they're talking about.
Coventry and Sunderland have got plenty of Wembley trauma as well. They'll raise you on that, I tell you.
Hey, we've got a bit of Wembley trauma of our own from the last 2 years as well.
That's exactly what I just said. Yeah.
Frank Lampard in the Premiership, love to see him with Cov, says Nigel, but Blades for me. Oliver says, I think Sunderland should not be underestimated. I think on the day they can beat anyone in the playoffs. 2 on Sunderland tomorrow, as previous form is not relevant. And Judith puts, glad you're all thinking on Sunderland. We've got an interesting question maybe for 4 of us here. Paul, how would the panel feel if we're back here in 12 months' time with each of our respective teams, Birmingham, Ipswich, Coventry and Sheffield United, facing off in the 2026 playoffs? I mean, that means one of us hasn't gone up here, Ollie, this season through the playoffs, so Sunderland will probably be in the Premier League.
Bristol
Gab,
City.
go on, Gab, take it away,
Paul.
mate.
Well, I think we can be in the top 10 next season, so could be somewhere in around it. Yeah, I'd be fascinated to see that happen.
All the money you're going to spend as well, Gab, might be higher than 10.
Ambition, mate.
Ipswich next season, surely playoff promotion contenders again, Ben, as we've seen with many relegated Premier League teams.
I'm very disappointed with all the Ipswich fans who've been very selfish at the moment. They're all saying they want Sheffield United to be promoted. So there's only 3 teams with parachute payments in the Championship next season, and Ipswich will have an absolutely gargantuan, massive advantage over everyone, which they will then proceed to waste and lose to Birmingham in the playoffs, as that tweet says.
We'll do you like we did in 2001, Ben.
Oh God, yeah, crikey.
And for Ollie, I mean, I expect Ollie, if he's lost another playoff campaign this year, to turn up with completely grey hair next year.
Oh,
if he's back in the playoffs again.
I'll look 65 if I'm doing this again in 12 months' time. Honestly, it's finished me off. Yeah, I think ultimately, how would I feel? I'd be disappointed if we're here doing this again in 12 months' time. Look at where we are. Look at what we've done this year. If we're not going up this time, I want us to be aiming higher than the playoffs again next season. So, yeah, I really don't want it. I just really don't want it again.
A very, very fun place to finish this live stream. Thanks all for your comments. Make sure, as I say, Ben and Gab will be back after the Coventry Sunderland semi-final tomorrow night. And we'll also be back for the second leg reactions. It looks like Sheffield United have won in the final after 3-0 win over Bristol City at Ashton Gate. Make sure you stay tuned, like and subscribe. Get your thoughts in below. Who is winning the Championship playoffs? Well, that's all for us tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow night.